The Monster Below by Greenback, read by Deathlight. Chapter 8, Beatbreaker. Three days after receiving the letter, I walked into a restaurant on the outskirts of Manhattan's upper-class district. Fancy, yet not so expensive as to the bill won't cost me a paycheck to cover. Sitting in a booth near the window, I watched the street for my clients, having arranged a dinner get-together so we can learn more about each other. All I knew was she was a recent graduate from Manhattan's top medical university, and her name was Beatbreaker. I had told her to look for a teal-colored pony in a casual business suit, and beyond that, all I could do was wait. My wait was short, for after 10 minutes I arrived, so did Beatbreaker. I had expected a pony, but got a zebra instead. The very first I had ever seen face to face. She didn't look like the tribal zebras I had seen in the books. With her lab coat and taped glasses, she looked more like someone more at home reading books in a library than performing tribal magic around campfires. She trotted to the booth. "So, Mr. Silverspeak, I presume?" I offered her hoof, the one and only. She shook it and took a seat. "You have no idea how pleased I am to meet you. I hope I didn't keep you waiting." "Oh no, not at all," I assured her, hiding my surprise that I'd be working with a zebra. "You're probably wondering why I'm dressed like this. Just got out of the lab, been working on something all day, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to head back fairly soon. So this is going to be pretty short. I hope you don't mind." "Oh no, not at all. So I understand you're in need of a writer." Beatbreaker chuckled. "You could say that. I need some help writing some proposals." "Don't medical students have to write them?" I asked as a waiter brought us water. "Yes, but they're not my specialty. Now your classified said that you're skilled in all types of writing. What experience do you have?" "I've been writing for corporations for a few months. Memos, speeches for CEOs, that sort of thing. But my real talent is in the power of words." I shoulder my flank and the cutie mark of an old-fashioned microphone. It's also called the gift of the silver tongue. I have the ability to charm others, either by speech or word. Now, what kind of proposal do you need? Beatbreaker gave a nervous chuckle and straightened her glasses. How do I explain this? Take your time. I'm in no rush. Well, you see, I can't exactly tell you. It's a secret. It'll be hard to write a business proposal without knowing what I'm supposed to write about, I joked. "Yes, I know, but this sort of thing, well, it has the potential to change the field of medicine forever. But my professor and I don't want to risk it getting out before we're ready to unveil to the public." That intrigued me. My first freelance writing assignments, and it was going to be about a secretive medical project? How could I resist? If you can't tell me what it is in public, can you tell me in private? I can do better than that. Meet me at my apartment this Saturday at 9 a.m. sharp, and I'll show you. The clock chimed. Beatbreaker gulped down the last of her drink. "Sorry to drink and run, but I gotta get going. Thanks for coming out though, I really appreciate it. The pleasure's all mine." Grinning, Beatbreaker finished her drink and trotted out of the restaurant, looking quite pleased with herself. I spent the rest of the week wondering what was so secretive that Beatbreaker didn't want to talk about in public. I cautiously considered all manner of things, and I eagerly left my apartment on Saturday morning, wanting to get my answers. Beatbreaker's apartment was located on Manhattan's southern side, where most of the island's less affluent residents lived. But a visitor wouldn't find mounds of garbage, crumbling apartments, and the stench of unwashed bodies. For many businesses employ the poor to clean up trash, paint buildings, and pave the streets, while also providing cheap housing. The apartment I wanted was among them, and Beatbreaker opened the door seconds after I knocked. A large bag hung from her side. "Sorry I'm late," she said, dropping the bag. I was a little late, finishing up my day job. I peered into the bag and found it full of garbage. "You're a trash picker?" "Yes, but only to pay the bills. And when I'm not here, I spend my time in the lab." Tossing on her lab coat, Beatbreaker locked the door behind her. "Now come, we have a lot of ground to cover." I let Beatbreaker lead the way through the streets to the subway. It was a long ride, and I fidgeted, waiting for time to pass. I figured getting to know my client better was the way to go. So, Beatbreaker, how'd you get your name? It's a long story, believe me. I've got time. Well, you ever feel like you don't belong? That you were born with others like you, yet you aren't one of them. Oh, if she only knew. Well, I was the only zebra interested in medical science of my tribe. You know much about zebras? I shook my head. We don't place much importance on technical things. Beatbreaker explained. We prefer to live close to the earth. We believe it as a spirit, and that we work with it in daily life. My parents are shamans and want me to follow in their footsteps. But whenever my parents try to teach me about the magic of the earth, I'd be reading about ethology and how to cure diseases with plants and herbs. And as I got older, I began to experiment making concoctions and crafting limbs out of wood for zebras who had gotten into accidents. But it wasn't easy. I blew up a lot of potions and even burned down a hut or two. And that's how you got your name? She nodded, quite proud of herself. I'm still amazed that the others tolerated me, but they saw my potential and encouraged me to keep going. I studied under the tribe's doctor, and when I came of age, I went to Manhattan to study medicine and technology. And here you are. Beatbreaker sighed. It's been a long path, but if I could pull this project off, it'll be all worth it. The subway came to a stop a few minutes later, and we disembarked to find ourselves before Manhattan's University of Science and Medicine. If someone wants to go into the field, there'd be no better place to go. And ponies, zebras, griffins, and many other species came here to become doctors, nurses, surgeons, and researchers. I let Beatbreaker take the lead as we headed into the lobby, adorned with statues of ponies engaged in various fields of medicine and science. Making our way through the hordes of students, professors, and doctors dashing about. Leading me towards the back of the lobby, Beatbreaker took me into an elevator, inserted a key, and we descended 5 stories underground. When the doors opened, we emerged into a clean, sterile hallway of stainless steel. Why the security? I asked Beatbreaker. The university's most sensitive data is down here. She explained, along with all the most important experiments. Making a left turn, she went to a heavily reinforced door, entered her key, and did a retina scan. Only then did the door open, granting us access to the laboratory stocked with all manner of equipment. There was an older pony inside, and he was hunched over. Beatbreaker, you're late! Sorry, Glass-Eye, day job got off to a late start. Always with the excuses. Then I'm gonna tolerate those, whatever office ends up taking you. He turned to me, his left eye moving slightly irregularly. Silver speak, I presume? I nodded. The pony stretched out his hoof. I'm Glass-Eye, head of the science division here at the university. I trust you've heard about me? I shook my head. I can't say I have. Judging from Glass-Eye's scowl, I might as well have told him that his mother was a scum-sucking cave-eel. You mean Beatbreaker hasn't told you about me? She hasn't, but that's because she's been so busy. I said quickly. She's been trying so hard to set up this proposal that she hasn't had time to do anything else. Glass-Eye considered my answer, then nodded. Well, I suppose that's an acceptable answer. After all, the university is putting most of its time and effort into this project. It only makes sense that Beatbreaker here would want to keep it going. Beatbreaker said nothing, but looked like she wanted to kiss me. Glass-Eye walked towards a table and a cloth-covered container atop it. You're an author, are you not? Yes, I said. How many proposals have you written? None so far. This will be my first. Stopping, Glass-Eye spun to Beatbreaker. This is the best you could do, he hissed. No one else would take the job. They all wanted to know what it was before agreeing to it. We need someone established. Biting his lip, he turned to me. I apologize, Silverspeak, but this is a very important project. If you're the only one we can get, I suppose you'll have to do. Now, what do you know about the project? Nothing. Good. Reaching into a drawer, Glass-Eye pulled out a lengthy piece of paper and set it before me. The project that we are working on is being held in the strictest confidence, and everyone working on it has to sign this contract. If you continue, you'll have to do the same. I looked at the contract and know that Beatbreaker didn't mention anything about signing one. It seemed pretty straightforward and nothing too out of the ordinary, with no secret clauses that allowed the universe to take me home and everything I own should I squawk to the press. Instead, there'd be a rather hefty fee, more than enough to wipe out my entire bank account. Still, my curiosity wanted to find out what was inside that container. I signed. Well, everything seems to be in order. As I said after seeing my signature. Beakbreaker. Heavy locks fell into place as Beakbreaker swung the door closed, sealing us in, and shutting everyone else out. Once satisfied that we weren't going to be disturbed, Beakbreaker went to the table and pulled the cloth off the container. Behold, the next great advancement in medical technology. I hadn't been sure what to expect from the container, but was caught off guard by what was inside, and how ordinary it was. It was a leg, a pony leg to be precise, suspended in a thick, blue gel. That's it? I said. You got me all the way down here, made me sign a contract, and swear to secrecy over a leg? But it's no ordinary leg. Beakbreaker said, beaming. A leg removed from some famous pony and you're trying to clone him? Beakbreaker shook her head. No, not at all. This leg didn't come from anyone. It took me a few moments to recognize what she was saying. Wait, then if it didn't come from any pony, then where did it... Here! Beakbreaker indicated the lab. The leg was grown from scratch. The resulting silence lasted for several seconds. I couldn't speak, at a loss for words. Well, Mr. Silverspeak? But I asked, what do you think? I drew closer to the container. Without thinking, I pulled off the lid and reached inside. Beakbreaker moved to stop me, but Glasseye held her back. As I pulled the leg from the viscous liquid, wanting it to feel it myself. It looked real, complete with fine fuzz on the skin and solid muscle beneath. But the leg was cold, making it feel dead. I could only hold it for a few moments before feeling uncomfortable. I put it back into the container. How did you do that? 6 years of all-nighters and several thousand gallons of coffee. But that's impossible. You can't just grow body parts in the lab. You're half right, Glasseye said, walking over to peer at the leg. The leg has muscles, bones, and skin, but no nerves. It's little more than meat at this point, and not what we need, which is where you come in. Beakbreaker said, if we're going to perfect the process, we need additional funding, and for you to write a proposal for us. Glasseye started yapping about medical details and exactly what they needed, but I ignored him, focusing on the leg. I couldn't fathom how it had been grown in a lab. Pony science was nowhere near capable of doing something like this. Yet, here it was. My mind spun as I realized the possibilities. If Beakbreaker could get her funding, and if further research was successful, the couple ponies could be walking within a decade, no longer hindered by accidents, age, or disease. Beakbreaker hadn't been lying when she said this could be the biggest medical breakthrough in the past 100 years. It would be the breakthrough to end all breakthroughs. I had hoped to make the presentation myself, but I've been called a counterlot on official university business. Glasseye continued, unaware that I hadn't been listening. Thus, it is Beakbreaker who is going to have to make the presentation. And you, Mr. Silverspeak, will be the one to ensure that we get our funding. The presentation was the last thing in my mind. How long will this leg last? I asked. Does it ever need to be infused with magic? Beg your pardon, Mr. Silverspeak, but we do not have. Nope, Beakbreaker interrupted. Never. It looks like a leg of an adult. But when we create a perfect version, the muscles and nerves will be that of a young adult on the peak of health. The whole thing should be able to go for at least 80 years. I stared at her, my eyes almost as wide as dinner plates. An artificially grown leg that never needed magic. It sounds insane, but for a few moments it felt like Beakbreaker was laughing at the face of physics, and all that seemed possible. It occurred to me, with a steady flow of funding and enough time, there might be no limits of what she could accomplish. While I had been nothing but amazed, Beakbreaker had interpreted my distant blank gaze as disbelief, an impression she had apparently seen far too often. You don't believe me, do you? Well, I can't say I'm surprised. Surprised? Of course I am. Who wouldn't be? This is amazing. You create an actual leg! I reached into the goo and yanked the leg back out. This is going to change the medical industry forever, possibly the entire world. And if you're going to change the world, I want to be a part of it. I was surprised to see Beatbreaker's lips and cheeks were quivering. I thought she was going to cry, and didn't know why she would. Later on, Beatbreaker would explain to me how so many poets and scientists laughed at her theories about what would be accomplished regarding limbs, seeing her as a joker who had her head stuck in the clouds. Even Glass-Eye didn't believe her when they first met. But at that moment, I managed to become the first pony who took her seriously. Breathing deep, she smiled and extended a hoof. Partners? I took her hoof in mine, all too happy to do so. Partners. The moment I returned home, I wasted no time writing out a proposal, scrolling out paragraph after paragraph. Before I knew it, I had written 10 pages that gushed about the benefits of artificially grown limbs and the use of the handicapped. But, passionate as it was, the paper was too long for an oral proposal, and I had to start over, limiting myself to 3 pages. But it was a joy to write, as I was all but consumed by the feeling of working on something that was going to change the world. Before the sun dipped below the horizon, I had finished the proposal that would stir hearts even in the most hardened corporate executive. It was some of my best work, yet there was still a twinge of doubt that those same executives would accept it. Ponies, for all of our tolerance and acceptance of new things, do have our limits. To be precise, science that disrupts the natural order of things. An artificial leg made of wood and metal would be easy to accept, but limbs grown in the lab could be seen as sacrilege against nature itself. It was no wonder Beatbreaker had tried to keep her work secret. If anyone had learned about the leg being completed, her work may have stopped before it began. In the coming days, I revised and tweaked the proposal. Glass-Eye scouted out companies that would be interested in the leg, and had a few million bits to spare for research and equipment. He finally found a potential partner with Medicomp, the largest medical corporation in Manhattan. They had a reputation for being open to new ideas, especially if they benefited the greater good. A meeting was scheduled, and after a few more revisions, I delivered the proposal to Beatbreaker at her apartment. Here it is, I told her, my best work yet. That's fantastic, Beatbreaker said. Then we have no chance of failing. But beneath that cheerful demeanor, I saw a zebra who was frightened out of her wits, and wondering if she even had a chance of pulling this off. You alright? You don't look so good. Is it that obvious? Just focus on giving the speech, and you'll be fine, I assured her. Then deciding she could use a little boost of self-esteem, I turned on the charm. If you focus on how much you believe in this project, the board will sense it, coupled with the fact that you got lab-grown limbs, and they'll be practically begging you to take their money. The charm worked. Beatbreaker breathed easier, and her posture improved with a blink of an eye. You know what? I think you're right. She looked the proposal over with a confident smile. Well, I'd better get started memorizing this. Thanks for bringing it by. As I headed back to the subway, I felt, well, surprisingly good. More so than in a very long time. I had always used my gift of the silver tongue to make things easier for myself, but that had been the first time I used it to help someone. I still remember how good it felt. With a proposal written, I went back to my speeches, memos, and press releases at work. Nowhere near as exciting as a medical proposal that could change the face of pony society forever, but I still had bills to pay. On the day of Beatbreaker's presentation, I was eager upon heading in for work. I wouldn't know how the proposal went for the next day or two, but the thought that my works could jumpstart a medical revolution was intoxicating. It was certainly fun to imagine a room filled with executives leaning forward in their seats, eager to catch every masterful word placed, weeping at the expertly constructed sentences that would move them to emotional depths that they had never experienced before. Of course, I had no way of knowing how the presentation would really go. I could write the finest speech Ponycon had ever seen, but if Beatbreaker stumbled, yammered on, or got choked up from fear, then all the words in the world would mean nothing. But that wasn't up to me. I could only trust that she was going to do her best. As the workday came to an end, I hurried out of the building. I found Beatbreaker waiting for me. So? I asked, hoping for the best. How'd it go? Beakbreaker had a face of a poker player. I couldn't tell if she had muted joy or melancholy sorrow. Well, I gave the presentation, she said quietly. But I kept stumbling. I was so nervous. But then I remembered what you told me, and I managed to get through the rest of it. I nodded, and... She paused, trying to figure out the best way to break the news. Well, after hearing it, they didn't seem quite convinced about actually making body parts. My heart sank. A smile came across her face. Some of the senior members of the board thought I had potential, so they were able to overrule the others and gave me the grant. What? That's great! Beakbreaker nodded. Now we've got all the bits we need, but there's a catch. The company wants results a year from now. Her smile, beaming and radiant, dimmed. It took almost 6 to make the first leg. And now I got to do the whole thing again in the fraction of the time. And if I don't do it, then we lose the funding. And the project's as good as dead. You can do it though, right? I asked as Beakbreaker slumped into a nearby bench. She was silent for a long moment. I really don't know. I just don't. And there's something else. If the project dies, Medicomp can legally take all my work and continue development themselves. And there's nothing I can do about it. It was as if all the joy Beakbreaker had ever felt slipped away. This is my life's work. I can't lose it. She tried to speak, but the words died in her throat, and she struggled not to cry. I wanted to comfort her, reassure her that she'd get through this. But I didn't know how, until an idea struck me. You said with some help, you might be able to finish the second leg. Why not ask around for that help? I could write proposals and send them to the best scientists in Equestria and see if they could help. Beakbreaker looked up, damp hooves pulling away from her eyes. You mean it? Why not? If you're able to grow a leg by yourself, imagine what you can do with a team of the finest minds in Equestria. Thinking quickly, Beakbreaker pondered my proposal. It wasn't long before her smile came back. Yes, if you can write well enough to convince Medicomp to give us a try, then it could work for the scientists. She beamed once more and jumped to her hooves. Okay, we'll do it. When can you send out those letters? Tomorrow. Now there's the problem of knowing who to send them to. I don't know any other scientists who could. I'll write up a list and send them to your apartment later tonight. Beakbreaker said, her mind going a mile a minute. Be sure to mention that we got funding to go ahead. Most scientists won't jump on something unless they're being funded by a well-known organization. That will show that we're serious and not a bunch of crazies. She jumped up and down. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we're actually going to do this. Oh! She reached into a pocket on her coat and pulled out a small bag of bits. Here, you've earned this. And I'll gladly pay you for writing those letters. I took the bits, glad for them. But they were the last things on my mind. The thought of Beakbreaker succeeding, and changing the face of medicine as we knew it, was more important than bits. Oh my, I better head back and get started. Can't waste a second, I'll talk to you later. Turning, Beakbreaker dashed off. I couldn't blame her for running with the vigor of the possessed. She had taken the first steps towards her dream, and if we could pull the next one off, it would come so much closer to coming true. The following year was one of those where you were constantly busy, yet wonder where the time went when the new year rolls around. For me, that year was spent writing all matters of documents for my job, and more importantly, for Beakbreaker, including the letters to scientists and doctors asking if they would be interested in helping Beakbreaker. Most weren't, for some reason or another, but a few were intrigued, and after learning what was going on, threw themselves into the project with vigor equal to Beakbreaker. Within 2 months, Beakbreaker's team grew into 5 ponies, including Glasseye. Though she was the youngest, Beakbreaker was the leader, for she not only worked on it the longest and the hardest to make it come true, but had more drive than everyone else combined. Glasseye wasn't happy with her arrangement, and voiced his displeasure to anyone who would listen. Being the head of science, he believed he had the right to lead such an important project, wanting to bring glory to the university rather than just a single graduate. Privately, I thought I was more interested in bringing glory to himself, but I kept silent, instead of letting things play out as they would. Despite working for her, I rarely saw Beakbreaker during the year, being the only non-scientist granted access to the lab. On Beakbreaker's orders, I went down every now and then to see how things were going. and Beatbreaker was always hard at work. I learned from Glasseye that it was common for her to spend all night at the lab, sometimes only grabbing a few hours of sleep, or sometimes none at all. She'd go weeks without seeing Celestia's sun, so much so that she began turning slightly pale. Still, even with the money, equipment, and the scientists she needed, Beatbreaker's work was not a fast-paced venture, for she needed time to manage the complex process of tissue and muscle growth, while trying to speed up the process without causing any mistakes or issues in the leg. Progress was steady, the bones were grown first, and once they were set, the muscles came next, along with the nerves and sinew. Inch by inch, month by month, Beatbreaker's leg began to take shape. Those who entered the lab began to sense something miraculous was happening. It was like watching an alchemist turn water into gold. I must admit, feeling a rush of pride at seeing the leg. Though it was Beatbreaker's baby, I felt like the father. Finally, at long last, Beatbreaker sent word on a cold day in late winter that the leg was ready. Throwing on my cold weather gear, I wasted no time in running to the lab, my heart pounding as I passed through the checkpoints and heavily sealed doors. Found the leg propped up on a table, connected to life support equipment, surrounded by awestruck scientists and doctors, eager to touch the limb and feel the life within it. Even Glasseye seemed humbled with the miracle before him. Beatbreaker herself stood off to the side, beaming with pride at seeing so many individuals crawling around her work, considering how many of them would have laughed at her ideas a few years earlier. It must have been oh so satisfying to see them won over. She walked over, spotting me, exhausted, yet full of excitement. Silverspeak, can you write a letter to Metacomp? Let them know that the leg is ready, and we're prepared to present. I wasted no time in doing so, and the reply was just as fast. A date and time was set for the presentation, and before we knew it, the big day arrived. Normally, only Beatbreaker and her intimate co-workers would have gone into the meeting, but she insisted that I come along as well, noting that even without contributing a single bit or hour of time in the lab, I had done so much for the project, and figured that this presentation belonged to me as it did to everyone else. Honored by such a request, I dressed in my finest clothes and met up with her and the others. As we entered the towering skyscraper, Manhattan's largest medical corporation, the leg was carried by Glasseye, still within a medical-grade carrying case. We got many curious gazes as we checked in, passed through the lobby, and entered the elevator that would take us up to the top floor, even without knowing what we were carrying. It was as if the random passerby sensed the importance of our mission. Reaching the top floor, we went through the elegant halls filled with lavish carpeting and the finest furniture, and once we entered the meeting room, I saw why Beatbreaker was so nervous coming here for the first time. There was a single, U-shaped table in the room, so that anyone asking for a grant would feel like that they were in a courtroom standing before a panel of judges. The 15 older ponies at the table had the looks, and like the smiles the judges would have. A few were intrigued with what we had to say, but the others had their doubts, apparently figuring that this was all a hoax or a waste of time. Beatbreaker took her place before the board members, tired and worn out from a year of hard labor, but there was no fear this time, no doubt or worry that things would go wrong. Thank you all for allowing me to come here today, Beatbreaker said, reciting the words that I had written for her. But I also want to thank you for being present on what may be the most important day in medical history. May have doubted my proposal and what I can accomplish, but thanks to your generosity, my dreams are now one step closer to reality, and I am here to share it with you. Glasseye walked forward and set the case down. Mayors and Gentlecolts, Beatbreaker said, grinning ear to ear, allow me to present the world's first completely organic replacement limb. Glasseye's horn glowed, and the leg was lifted from the case, held up for all to see. Even now, I can still see the shock and amazement on the board members' faces. The limb you see before you is no fake, nor well-made prosthesis. Beatbreaker continued, knowing she had the audience in her hooves. It's a pony leg, grown in the lab. There is no metal, wood, or steel within. Just bone, blood, muscle, and nerves. Nothing you wouldn't find in nature. Taking the leg, Beatbreaker pulled out a needle and pricked the skin. The leg twitched, another prick, and it thrashed. As you can see, it has nerves and is capable of feeling pain. She put the needle away and stroked the leg. I could see the hairs flattening against the skin. It also has the capacity to feel pleasurable touch. You can't get that with a metal leg. Beatbreaker nodded to Glass Eye, who levitated the leg and slowly passed it around the table, allowing the board members to touch it for themselves. This leg is alive, but no brain controls it. Yet, when connected with the patient's nervous system, it can be rewired to act as if it had always been there. The leg we have is gray, but we have the ability to change the color of the fur to any tone imaginable. Once attached, even the patient will be able to tell the difference in between their new leg and the one they lost. When the leg had completed, it surrounds around the table, and the excited executives got their chance to touch it. Beatbreaker moved in for the kill. Now, think what this leg represents. It's the first of its kind, but it still has room for improvement. It took almost a year to create, but with further research and development, we can cut that time in half, or even half again. Within a few years, we can create legs for ponies who had lost their own. The crippled could walk again. The infirm could gallop through the forest and grasslands. The elderly could gain new vitality with their legs stronger than they had been before. Crude prosthetics would be a relic consigned to the history books. No longer would ponies be bound in wheelchairs for life, or unable to get around on their own. We are at the brink of something extraordinary. She smiled and delivered the punchline. And that's why I'm asking you for your help to make that dream a reality. By the end of the day, Beatbreaker got all the bits she could ever want, and the finest medical equipment bits could buy. And not only that, she would no longer have to work in the dark crevices of the university, but one of Medicom's state-of-the-art laboratories within the tower, and with her current staff and others she needed. I was happy for Beatbreaker, but no one can match her ecstasy at being accepted. No, that was not the right word. She's beyond ecstasy. Her dreams were coming true, and I'd never seen anyone or any pony otherwise be so caught up with the embrace of happiness that it seemed like that they would burst. There was so much to do, so much data to transfer and equipment to take out of the labs. But Beatbreaker, having almost worked herself to death during the past year, wanted a few days off to relax. And on the night of having her leg accepted by Medicomp, Beatbreaker invited me out to dinner, and a celebration of victory that had been hard won. As the sun set and the rays of gold and yellow lit up the sky, I found myself with Beatbreaker in a fancy restaurant atop a tall tower, giving us both a glorious view of the skyline. We didn't talk business for most of that evening, mainly sharing drinks as Beatbreaker delighted herself, relaying story after story of some moment that made her so frustrated and upset during that year in the labs. And despite knowing next to nothing about science in general, I went along, glad to see Beatbreaker laughing. The hours passed, the other diners began to drift away, until the two of us were the only ones inside the restaurant, sipping away at our last bottles of cider. Wow, Beatbreaker said. Amazing how time flies, doesn't it? I suppose I'd better head home. It's nice to actually sleep for once. She rose from the booth, slightly intoxicated, but nothing to ruin her eye-hoof coordination. Oh, I almost forgot. She rummaged around and pulled out another bag of bits from her coat. Here, double your fee. I see you earned it. Oh, thank you, I said. The bits would be enough to pay rent for the next 2 months. But still, don't forget who gave you the speech. Smiling, Beatbreaker started towards the door, but stopped halfway to it and seemed lost in thought, the effects of cider fading away. Listen, Silverspeak, I don't really know how to thank you for everything you've done. It's alright, I'm glad I could help you make your dream come true. No, I mean it, Beatbreaker said, any joking, a general mockery gone. I mean, without you, we probably wouldn't be here right now. I'd probably be stuck in a grocery store pharmacy, drinking myself into a stupor every night. She stepped in close, and for a moment, I wondered if she was going to kiss me. But she didn't. Her eyes were peering into mine, as if trying to discover my deepest desire. I don't know how I can repay you, but if you ever need a favor or something medical related, then it's yours, no questions asked. I was caught off guard by her offer. Thank you, I said with a smile. If I lose a leg, Celeste forbid that ever happen, then I know who to come to, and I'll perform the surgery myself, free of charge. She took my hoof and gave a quick kiss. Good night, Silverspeak. I had a great time. Then, after leaving her share of the bill on the table, she waltzed out of the restaurant, tired but happy. I watched her go, but not as happy as Beatbreaker was, but so content at knowing that I fulfilled my purpose, and more importantly, that all was right in the world, and all was as it should be.